going to be able to go first, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. It's time to duel round number 1.
I think it's a huge matchup because if Voiceless Voice can really put on a show here in round 1, it might show that as the tournament progresses, it matches up well.
We're going to start with the card we all knew we were going to see a lot of this weekend. That's right, it's Snake Eye Ash.
It looks like it's not met with any hand interactions just yet. We'll see if Alejandro has Drone Lockbird, which unfortunately doesn't line up all that great against Ash.
Yeah, because it will cut them off from like the Fire King aspect of the deck, but being able to still use all the Snake Eye cards, you'll be able to still end on an Amblowell with a Promethean Princess in the graveyard. But Alejandro taking a moment to read Snake Eye's popular, not how you want to start the tournament, but if you have a question about how it works, just so you can know how it interacts with Drone Lockbird, huge. You called it. Drone Lockbird is something, because yeah, the Fire King part will be cut off, but now he's going to use Snake Eye Ash other effect to send them both to the graveyard to special summon a Snake Eye monster from the deck.
It looks like it's going to be a copy of Oak.
Yep, it looks like Calvin does know how to play with these cards into Drone Lockbird. This is something I've seen players like Pack do in the past. You want to get Oak into rotation. Oak's going to bring back that Poplar, so you haven't used Poplar's effect.
Yeah, it's important to get these into rotation in the graveyard so that when Flamebird's Dragon resolves, you have those targets in the graveyard. And then in addition to that, if you're able to use Flamebirds on your opponent's turn, you would also be able to almost build this wall of defense that also continually adds resources back as Oak can ag from the graveyard.
And you see a really creative way here with that Oak to send the Poplar to summon Flamebird's Dragon, because you need to get 2 monsters in the graveyard for a link 2, then Flamebirds will bring 2 back. The thing with Drone Lockbird and most hand interactions is you can always pair them with like Nibiru the Primal Being. Nibiru the Primal Being on its own, not great against Snake Eye Fire King, but if you can pair it with something like Drone Lockbird, Effect Veil, or Infinite Permanence, the impact can be huge.
So here we see the first Flamebird effect resolve from the graveyard, allowing Calvin to special summon 2 level 1s. This also allows, not that you're really worried about DD Crow, but Flamebird does need to summon specifically 2, and this allows you to have 3 level 1s in the graveyard, and it doesn't target either. So it's important that if you have the ability to actually put 3 in the graveyard, potentially more in the sided games, or a card like DD Crow might be more popular. If it's easy to do and it doesn't compensate your combo, you should definitely consider doing that.
Oh yeah, definitely heads up. You want to play around any sort of tech card that your opponent could be packing for you as well. Now he's going to link away that IP into Princess. As we've seen this before, he's going to bring back that Flamebird's Dragon. Flamebird's has that cool effect on the field. You can take a monster from either player's graveyard and put it in the spell and trap card zone, or the field for that matter, so it's great at breaking boards as well. Going to put that IP Masquerade in the spell and trap card zone so it can push it forward during his opponent's turn with that same Flamebird. And now we're going to link away the Princess and the Poplar for Amphibious Warship.
Amblowell. Swarm Ship.
Swarm Ship. I was Warship, Swarm Ship. Is it a tank? Is it a boat? I'm not certain. It can definitely go water because it's amphibious.
One of the first times you watch the Fire King Snake Eye strategy, the thing that took me back the first time was seeing IP just naturally used on the opening turn. It takes a little bit of time, though, to realize, like, oh, actually, that's part of what the player is intending to do because of Flamebird's flexibility. But it seems a little bit odd the first time you see the combo. Yeah,
right?
You're definitely not. So if you've never seen this combo before, and it looks like it's sufficient enough for Alejandro.
Advantage to concealing his strategy, because Droll pretty strong against Voiceless Voice.
It certainly can be, depending on how the deck opens, for sure.
But yeah, Low does play into Drone Lockbird pretty well since it's able to place the spell and traps as opposed to adding them to your hand, so there's a little bit of an advantage there with that. But
and then Serarvis, you don't actually have to add the monster, but you can still send the ritual spell. So there is some it's sort of an additional effect, so you can still play around Droll to an extent there as well.
No, not like this, Alejandro. But this is the best part about the team YCS, is that even if you don't draw well and maybe your game doesn't go the way you want it, you still have 2 teammates that can hold it down for you on either side.
And we don't know what those 3 set spell or trap cards are. He's got some pretty potent ones in his side deck.
Yeah, a lot of players assume when you just see this set, a few spell and trap cards, you're like, oh no, this is not the opening they wanted. But Calvin is going to start with Wanted, Secret of the Sinful Spoilers. That's going to let him add Diabell Star, the Black Witch, to the hand.
The first one of perhaps many activations of Wanted this weekend.
All right, now let's see if he... Normally when I want it in the draw phase, that means I'm leading with it, as otherwise I would want to chain it to a Drone Lockbird, just to have less information revealed for my opponent about what my hand contains. But yeah, it does look like it is first action, Diabell Star to the field, sending a face-up card or a card from the hand, and Ash Blossom from the hand.
Interesting one.
What does that tell you?
Could mean there's 2 copies of it. That's one possibility.
That's like the go-to thought,
That's the most common.
Or the other cards in his hand are really, really good.
They're really all engine cards. But the fact that he led with Black Witch, I mean, I wonder what that adds to the layer, that it might probably be 2 Ash Blossoms. But we'll see.
All right, so original Sinful Spoils is going to summon Snake Eye Ash. Snake Eye Ash effect is going to activate to try and add a level 1 fire from the deck. It looks like Alejandro is considering his options. Such a deceptively strong effect. Like, oh, you're just adding a level 1 Pyro or level 1 Fire Monster. No big deal. But then it's the Snake Eyes Poplar that's going to get you. Snake Eye Ash can also add himself. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is actually an important interaction where if you resolve Snake Eye Ash on the opponent's turn by getting a Flamebird, you can just search a follow-up copy of Ash in your hand.
And another thing is Oak can also not just summon from the graveyard or banish, it can add to your hand.
And to your hand, yeah. There's a lot of incremental advantage. So for example, some players that are playing Jet Synchron, when Jet Synchron gets banished, you can just add that card back as well. So now you get to use Jet Synchron's effect an additional time. Kind of how players used to reuse Plague Spreader Zombie.
So it looks like he is going to add Ponix here with Snake Eye Ash. What this means to me, he could have sided out a Poplar, drawn into his 1 Poplar, or he drew both his Snake Eyes Poplars.
That's also possible, too. So here Alejandro is thinking he's got a few continuous trap cards that I think could potentially be activated, but instead he's using Drill and Lockbird.
Alejandro's actually just playing a Droll and Lockbird deck. We haven't seen any activation from any other card just yet from him, but Droll is a strong one, especially when they're adding Ponix off the Snake Eye Ash, because they're not going to get that extender onto the board from it, and Ponix is pretty useless under Droll and Lockbird.
So maybe potentially a little bit better of a Droll than in the first game.
Oh yeah, it's also cutting off his draw there from the Wanted, putting back the original.
I think you just said Battlefield. Wow.
Attack.
And this is without the field spell.
Yeah,
without Temple.
Words out of my mouth. I was literally about to say that. Doesn't have the Divine Temple Snake Eye, only getting in there for 800. It becomes 1900, like a formidable monster with the field spell.
I know.
And then one set spell in trap card into one of the zones. Maybe it's like a copy of Infinite Permanence. He's trying to catch him on to stop something. But that's always dangerous because then they could have Imperm to shut off your Imperm.
I don't mind that trade as much, though, using your... Because if you have 3 set spell track cards, you might have multiple Imperms. So you'll be able to like trade your Imperm for your opponent's Imperm.
Which isn't terrible.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing.
It just depends what spell and trap you're trying to stop. Nothing from Alejandro.
Maybe he has another Droll and Lockbird in his hand in his Droll and Lockbird team deck.
I would put money on it that there's another copy. I don't always draw Droll and Lockbird, but when I do, it's at least in 2s. So Calvin's going to start things off with that legend. Wait for it. Dairy, Fire King, Ponix to the field, and that's going to be able to add a Fire King spell or trap from the deck to the hand. Usually, at the beginning of the format, people were playing a lot of Fire King Skyburn, and now it's mainly just Sanctuaries and Island. But some people have gone and just cut the Sanctuary as well.
The Sanctuary gives you that face-up card on the field, though, so that your original Sinful Spoils always resolves with a face-up target that's a very easy send, that's a send that's already sort of floated into the field spell for you. So I think it's going to continue to see play, the single copy of Sanctuary with Island. He might have sided it out, though. That is something that you do sometimes see for players that are going second. Now, it's interesting. Obviously, he didn't know what Alejandro was playing, so when you're siding, it's not like you're sitting there targeting these. You don't know what you have to side in quantity-wise. So I'm interested in what his side patterns would have been.
Definitely. I mean, I definitely think a Poplar came out as well, but you see him use the Ponix first to get the Island out of the deck because he probably only play 1 copy, and then goes for that Wanted draw after thinning the deck out. That's what's really good about this deck is, well, for me, Heat Soul, Decode Tiger Heat Soul. You're able to thin your deck out completely and then start drawing cards. You can Wanted, Heat Soul into a Heat Soul, draw 3 cards like once it's your opponent's turn, and then you can probably draw into some of those hand interruptions.
And then usually when you make that play, you also got a Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf effect somewhere along the way as well. So you also added back from the graveyard with that effect.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just thinking it's almost like you get 4 cards because you get that additional add back.
And if you also do like that Doolittle Chimera combo, you could add another card back. There's just so much resource management in this deck, and it's a lot of fun. But it looks like Snake Eye Ash effect is going to summon Snake Eye Oak. And that's going to be met by Summon Limit. This is Summon number 2.
This was one of the cards last turn that I said Alejandro may have set after he used the Droll and Lockbird. I guess Droll and Lockbird was sufficient to stop Calvin's turn, so no point in activating Summon Limit. The problem with Summon Limit is you're also going to be locked under it, so you need to be playing a strategy that can survive off 2 summons, which Voiceless Voice actually, to an extent, can do that.
You can at least get Low and Skull Guardian onto the field.
But then Low can't revive itself back from the graveyard because it would be the 3rd summon. You'd have to do it on
a different Low.
Yeah, you'd have to tribute. That's what I'm saying. But if he has Low, it already would have hit the field. So he's lowless right now.
No, that's not where you want to be as a Voiceless.
His Voiceless deck is lowless.
Yeah, you're okay with not having a voice, but once you don't have a Low, then you start getting worried.
He doesn't have a Low or a voice.
Or a hope. I'm just kidding.
Or prayer. The prayers are the Voiceless.
Oh man, I do love like the concept of Voiceless. Like, I think the Skull Guardian, what is his full name? Skull Guardian Protector of the Voiceless Voice is a really cool looking card, and the fact that he's a protector, like you just imagine Low praying to like their Guardian Angel, Guardian Chimera, but no, and then Skull Guardian Angel comes down and protects her. I just love that.
I think he might actually be reading his Radiance right now. No, I guess not. He still might have Radiance set there. It is one of the presumable spell or trap cards that he could have set on that opening turn.
And Radiance lets you trade any card for a Voiceless monster, I believe. I don't know if you have to trade back a Ritual or not, but it does help you get to a Voiceless voice card. You have to shuffle 1 Light Ritual, Warrior Dragon, yep, or 1 Ritual spell. So it requires you to have a certain card to actually be a searcher, but definitely not a card you want to draw. You did call it. It is Radiance of the Voiceless voice. Is he going to use the effects to exchange one of a Ritual in his hand for something live?
Ooh,
nope.
Ash Blossom.
So there is why he ditched that Ash Blossom at the beginning, because he had that second copy.
This one's not that bad for Alejandro because under Summon Limit, I presume Calvin's not really going to be able to do much. Now, I will also note that that is in the Imperm column. So in terms of setting a spell and trap card that opening turn for Calvin in what was presumably a 1 out of 3 chance.
He picked a good one.
He did pick a good one. But he's now going to be able to activate Radiance on his own turn. Presumably, he had the card in his hand that he was wanted to shuffle back. So having access to Radiance on his own turn could open things up. Now, one thing here, though, is he's going to lose the ability to special summon Low back from the graveyard, right? Because if he used it here, he'd be able to summon a Voiceless voice from the deck, presumably something like Low, and then on his turn, Low would already be on the field. So then by tributing Low on the field, you would be able to revive it back from the graveyard because the revival from the graveyard would be the second summon. So this Ash Blossom is a little bit inconvenient.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It does stop him from, at least for the turn, but he's going to be able to do it again. But yeah, I think that's the key part, is not having to keep the Low summon on his turn as opposed to doing it during his opponent's turn.
Ideally, he would end this turn with Low on his own field, and then tribute that Low for Skull Guardian, and then bring back the Low, and then go under the Skull Guardian protection effect.
Yep, and you get 2 Low searches off that as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then,
nice.
and then you're playing on both players' turns. That's actually an interesting interaction now that I'm kind of seeing it. Summon Limit with the Voiceless interactions with Radiance, being able to play in both players' turns and kind of always stay under that 2 summon limit, but then also still really play your strategy.
Definitely. And now it looks like another Diabell Star's coming down that got added off Wanted, sending a different Diabell Star to the graveyard.
That's interesting. Multiple copies. That's not something that's across the board.
Yeah, I play 3.
I think Calvin is as well.
I love that card. It's mainly for me, it's when I see other cards in my hand that aren't like engine cards. I'm like, well, this could be the second or third Diabell Star. Because you feel like if you can get to Snake Eye Ash, you're pretty golden. But now it looks like Calvin is finally going to activate that Fire King Island that he added off that legendary Fire King Ponix. Fire King Island effect to destroy, to add.
Looks like an Ash from his hand. Snake Eye Ash specifically.
Yeah, when I heard him say Ash from his
I
hand,
was about
like,
to
is
say,
it a third Ash Blossom?
Yeah, maybe that's why he discarded it on the first turn so freely.
Didn't even think about it. No hesitation.
Looks like he searched the original Sinful Spoils.
And then the Fire King Island resolves to add Kieran. This leads me to believe he already has Sacred Fire King Garunix in the hand.
Yeah, because even if you weren't able to summon it because of Summon Limit, putting it in the graveyard is still valuable for future turns.
Yeah, just have it. It also can out Summon Limit.
Yes.
As soon as you're able to summon it. But looks like he is just going to hold the Kieran in the hand. Attacks with Snake Eye Oak, attacks with Diabell Star. That Summon Limit giving him some problems, but pretty much Calvin's just hoping, like, this is fine as long as, Alejandro isn't able to get his strategy online just yet. So he's taking 2 attacks from Oak and a Diabell Star, so it's like 7, 14, 39. Main phase 2, he's going to use his second summon here, Link Away to Nightmare Phoenix.
Ooh, Nightmare Phoenix. He's playing a copy of Nightmare Phoenix.
Yeah,
wow.
it was pretty popular at the UUDS last weekend, but that's going to be met by Infinite Permanence. Alejandro hanging on to this summon limit for dear life right now. But yeah, Nightmare Phoenix, it has a lot of cool applications. You can summon it next to Promethean Princess and get that extra draw. But it's definitely good for getting out of sticky situations. For me, like, the card that is being played over is Access Code Talker usually. It's one of those, like, fluctuations. I know Nightmare Phoenix is my 15th or 16th card in my extra deck right now. Along with Underworld Goddess is another one I try and
Oh, yeah, that
include.
one's very important. It's unfortunate he couldn't Kieran because of Summon Limit. Typically, around Infinite Impermanence, Kieran in hand is actually usually the out to that, or the counterplay to that at least.
That might have been why he even grabbed the Kieran, like, because that's just, like, natural, like, knowing, like, that's smart. That's a smart line. But unfortunately.
Summon Limit, I mean. And here we go. Looks like
low.
finally.
The prayers of the voiceless voice. This is going.
I don't know. Ooh, this is.
That doesn't feel good.
Ooh, he's realizing, he's like, I was glad I set this here originally.
If he does use this infinite permanence, it will cut off the summon limit, but only during Alejandro's turn. But yeah, That doesn't stop the condition for accounting for the whole tribute either, I don't think. But it will stop him from adding a Voiceless voice card from the deck to the hand. He still has the trap as well, I believe.
He used the trap to get the low this turn.
Oh, he did? Okay.
The previous turn was used, Ash Blossom stopped it.
Okay.
I'm really hoping he has something here to really take advantage of the fact that he's off of summon limit, but I don't think he does based on the mannerisms.
1 for 1.
Okay, well, certainly he doesn't.
No, impermanent is under this column. No, summon limit. I impermanence you.
Oh, this is still during his turn. Oh, he summoned the low during Calvin's turn.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, never mind. The infinite impermanence is huge. So it looks like he is going to continue to play now. And now he's going to 1 for 1 for Snake Eye Ash. Snake Eye Ash is going to add Poplar effect. We'll add Divine Temple. It's always awkward adding the Temple after you already have Fire King Island up a little bit.
Adding Temple. It's the field spell.
But let's see where he goes to next. He has this Nightmare Phoenix. He has plenty of monsters to link with here. So it looks like Calvin taking some time to look at his extra deck to figure out where to best navigate this. I mean, you want to make sure somewhere down the line you get Promethean Princess in the graveyard. How can you best use it? The Flameburge effect. He discarded Flameburge with 1 for 1, I think. So that would be in the graveyard to bring back with the Princess if he so chooses. Okay, it looks like we have an update on our table, and it looks like all of Team Penguin Soldier won game 1. That's great, because after each game, they always like kind of shout down the line, like, I got game 1, I got game 2. So you hear everyone say they got game 1, that's a big morale boost.
I didn't hear it, actually. It was very voiceless across the teams. I didn't really hear any back and forth.
Yeah, the player's audio is a little low, but that's okay. No pun intended on the low on the field, but
they're voiceless. It's just, we can't stop.
Hear them. But they do have a voice. But
yeah.
The Flameburge going to the graveyard with original. One of my favorite cards is Send with original, because you get that one monster from the deck, and you're also going to bring back 2 more. But this is where Alejandro could have something like Nibiru the Primal Being, but I don't think that's like a card that's very popular in Voiceless, potentially, just because it's so field reliant. But the impact that Nibiru has in this format, it's almost hard not to play it, even if it disrupts your own strategy.
Especially if you're playing Droll and Lockbird, which we definitely know that he is. He was playing a Droll and Lockbird team deck for quite a while.
Yes.
If you're going to play Droll, you might play a card like Nibiru as well.
We see him add the 3rd copy of Snake Eye Ash to the hand.
And
and there it is!
Nibiru.
That's huge. He needed this. Being able to Nibiru after the Flamebridge has been used is enormous, because now there's no fire monster on the field. We do know Calvin has the Kieran in his hand, so if he has another fire monster, he can somehow get the Kieran onto the field, and then have the Princess still be online. If the Princess destroys the Kieran, he'll have a destruction effect as well as bringing back a monster. But like, this is really what comes down to, like, not getting that Garunix. I don't know. I just always
presume is maybe in his hand. It's hard to gauge that, because we commented on the interaction with Infinite Impermanence, but I don't know if he did that intentional or not.
I'm going to assume so. It seemed intentional, but it was an excellent heads-up play that I didn't see, so I'll assume it was intentional. But we see a second wanted draw resolve. That doesn't happen too often.
Oh, this is huge. Now, Alejandro gets his turn with low in the graveyard, so it'll be interesting to see how he can get.
All right,
but that's not bad.
Pot of Prosperity is a great starter card. I know a bunch of players were begging for this card to be forbidden a while ago, and then it's really format dependent whether you're going to see it or not, and deck dependent more so than anything. Like in certain decks, it's like, wow, this is the best card ever. In other decks, it's unplayable.
I think it really felt overpowered when you could return those banished face-down cards underneath a Rise Heart. That's where it felt a little unusual.
Yeah, definitely. That's where it felt really good. Being able to add, because you're getting all those bonus effects.
Yes, destruction effects, protection effects, whatever you need.
But then is Rise Heart the problem?
Well, that's what I'm saying. With that card banned, Pot of Prosperity, I mean, we've seen it certainly, but it's not as dominant and featured in these strategies. Especially because decks like Wanted, or the Snake Eye has the inherent drawing effects.
Yeah, and so Diviner the Herald we see off this Pot of Prosperity. I love this card in this deck. So Diviner, known for being good in ritual-centric strategies, right? But it could be used completely differently in this one. It's more used to summon the Trias Heractia. I'm really horrible at saying that last name, but the Trias, because it dumps into the graveyard, then you contribute the Diviner, and you get Diviner's effect to summon the low from your deck. But it looks like he grabs Saphira. the monster went off here because Saphira is able to discard and add, like Necroza Brionic similar.
It also has from the graveyard, unfortunately, here, though. So Ghost Spell does, in fact, counter it.
Oh, so yeah, it's like Unicorn Brionic mixed into
Yes.
one. So yeah, Ghost Spell will be able to stop it, but he still has the graveyard effect to Ritual Summon as well.
It says or graveyard, and it doesn't determine activation.
Alejandro just wants to confirm real fast that you are able to Ghost Spell it. Because, yeah, Ghost Spell says it just has to include the effect to summon from the graveyard.
So this is, in fact, a legal play, something that is really important. If you're playing against the Voiceless deck and you're not as familiar with the interactions, Ghost Spell does line up relatively well, especially because this is one of the typical things you see on the opening turn when the Voiceless deck does does open up with Saphira.
Certainly, and it's the same wording with Wanted as well, where it can add from the deck or graveyard, even though most of the time you're adding from the deck. But can still be hit by Ghost Spell, which is why Ghost Spell has kind of risen in popularity, just because it has more applications it's for. You can also go after Snake Eyes Flamebird's effect as well. Promethean Princess is a big one to stop. But it looks like Calvin's going to start his turn with Fire King Island to destroy Snake Eye Ash, the third copy from his hand. And here comes Garunix.
Yep, we knew it was there. Eventually it was going to hit the field.
And not at a better moment, because now he's going to be able to use Garunix effect to destroy a Fire Beast, Beast Warrior, Wing Beast from the deck, and he's going to go for Kieran.
With 2 copies of Kieran in his strategy.
It doesn't target, but I'll be summoning.
So Kieran's going to be able to summon a Fire King from the hand or graveyard and then destroy a card in the field. Looks like he's going after Nibiru.
So this is enough damage here. It's a question of, does Radiance have something that he's able to shuffle back? Based on body language, I don't think that that's the case. So,
And Calvin's going to take it. So this is 1 win for